Good morning, everyone. Just want to touch briefly a couple of things with you. Can you see? Yeah, okay, great. So the reason why Miriam actually asked me to come and say a couple of words is because I witnessed both sides. I was running a corporate incubator and accelerator, which was something similar to InnovMatch, and was doing the same thing for the Central and Southeast Europe region. And one of the reasons, and actually a lot of times that I did any kind of presentation from standpoint of a corporation, like we do right now from SAP's perspective, is why should I come and give you, I don't know, my point of view, my fresh ideas, my whatever, to a corporation who doesn't understand anything. So I mostly work with early stage startups, which we call, back then we called Mickey Mouse companies, unknown companies, nobody knows them, and Mickey Mouse companies are like Mickey Mouse watches, when you have a Mickey Mouse watch, you can see from looking at it that it's not expensive and then basically doesn't have that much value. So I used an elephant as a illustration for this. Elephant is a lot like a corporation. It's big, it's slow, but it also has very thick skin and, lives for a long, long time, up to, 150 years. And initially when I did all those, presentations, I was trying to convince startups to come work with a corporation because it's a natural synergy, because la la la. Then I realized that an elephant is not the best analogy. The best analogy is a dinosaur. And when I mention this, everybody starts laughing and everybody's like, yeah, dinosaurs are dead. But back in the day, dinosaurs were the rulers of the earth. They were the biggest, the strongest, the most advanced creatures on the earth. And you know what happened with dinosaurs, right? What happened with dinosaurs? No, they're actually chickens now. So the direct lineage of a dinosaur, of a T-Rex, is a chicken. So they didn't die, they just evolved into something completely different. And it took them millions of years to turn into one. They were reptiles, now they're chickens. So just to point out a couple of things, and because dinosaur is really, really good for illustrating this. When a Mickey Mouse company wants to do business with a corporation, half of you probably either worked in a corporation or still work in a corporation, and you know how it works. First, you need to go through procurement, then, this department, that department, and, something that should last for a month or two maybe turns into a one-year project, and half of the companies doing that in the middle of, the process dies because, a startup it needs to be really, really fast. But what I'm trying to say is that when thinking about working for a corporation is doing exactly what InnovMatch is trying to do. Find an existing need and offer a solution, building tools that they already have, into something completely new. So motivation from one side is really simple. Corporate, they do one thing. They have their own core product which they sell, and everything else around it is just, for show and for, serving this purpose. But what they have is all of these things, which you as a Mickey Mouse company, a startup company, someone who's just starting off, doesn't have any of these, and can actually, build on top of these things. So a big corporation has customers. How many customers do you have in Croatia? 200 customers, and they're mostly, more than 100 people companies. So that's a strictly B2B business. Those of you who did it already, the longest and the most cash-intensive sales cycle is B2B sales cycle. So if they already have customers and you have a product, or you build a product that actually they need, you can use their channels, exploit their channels to push your product so you can help them help themselves to help you, if you know what I mean. The other one is billing. You do a service for someone, and then you want to charge for this service, and this is not only Croatia, it's the whole region, and then you want to charge it, actually get cash for the business that you've done, and then you need to wait for 180 days, 80 days, 90 days, or something like this. You need to set up a proper channels, la la la. They have all of these. Brand, of course, Mickey Mouse versus a brand name. Hi, I build a car in my garage. Versus here's a Mercedes, or BMW, here's the keys and drive. Communication, immense power. When there's a couple of journalists here, so you can ask them later, what happens when a Mickey Mouse company comes versus when a big brand name company comes and starts communicating. What I'm trying to say is that when I'm looking at, we did many exercises actually, we called it the Open Innovation Table that actually had very similar consequences. In the end, it turned out to be really fruitful for both ends. Why? Because a startup or a small company actually learned how to, went into the product cycle of a big corporation and how to actually land a deal with the company that the corporation actually targeted. So in this case, InnovMatch, this is Atlantic, this is Cross, and exactly, in the sense of customers. Five customers in 5 countries. This is when, for someone who's just starting off, who's thinking about, let me start from a different angle. Who here is actually thinking about building the product or some sort of a solution? Okay, don't be shy. Yeah, so basically to show you how to build based on the proper specs. If you ask a big corporation, what do they need? They need a space shuttle, but what they actually need is something as simple as a bicycle. But they have 50 different departments, which everybody needs to get their own requirements. Oh, the customer care needs this. Oh, we cannot live without this. And the actual need is very, very little. And because of this, you can get a crash course in, I don't know, a couple of weeks. What exactly do you need to build in order to land a deal? So my job back then was, I was living in Poland and I was trying to convince startups, at the same time corporations, that they need to work together, because if you ask a corporation, they said, no, we don't need startups. We have our core product. And they don't, usually when you're a dinosaur or an elephant, you don't think 5 years ahead, because for you, time is infinite and you can live forever and ever and ever. And decline is not something that you work on. For startup, if you don't make it in 6 months or a year, you're dead. You're going to try again in a year or two with a different product. But, so trying to fix these two worlds is actually what's trying to be accomplished here. I don't know. I mean, I have 10 minutes, and I think I passed these 10 minutes. I can talk for hours like this and trying to, show you why. I have a couple of really successful cases how this sort of a cooperation actually ended up in a really, really profitable product for both sides. So if you want to talk about it later, we can you can grab coffee with me on behind the desk. That's it from me. If you have any questions, we can take it later. Thanks.
Thank you, Luka.